Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Hope you're all doing amazing today. In this video, we're diving into the latest updates about Kelly Ripa and Mark Consuelos. You don't want to miss this. So make sure to stay tuned till the end, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. The lights of the studio had always felt warm to Kelly Ripa, almost comforting, a familiar embrace after years of early mornings, rehearsed scripts, and the easy rhythm she and Mark Consuelos had naturally fallen into. But on this particular morning, as she walked through the backstage hallway with her coffee cooling in her hands, the warmth felt different, heavier, as if the day carried a weight she couldn't quite shake. Mark was already seated at the host desk when she entered, flipping through notes with a gentle smile he had worn for decades, ever charming, ever steady. But she knew that smile too well. It wasn't the real one. It was the mask he perfected. She took her seat beside him, the cameras humming softly before going live. Their producer counted down with fingers raised. 3, 2, 1. And then, in the blink of an eye, they were on. The familiar theme music played, the audience cheered, and Kelly did what she always did. She smiled, waved, and leaned into the moment. But her mind wasn't anywhere near the studio. It was stuck replaying the night before, when Mark finally told her something he had carried alone for far too long. Something she still wasn't entirely ready to share. But today, she would have to. The revelation. The previous night had started normally enough. After dinner, they had settled on the couch, their dog Chewy curled at their feet, and the quiet sound of rain tapping softly on the windows. Kelly had chatted about the next day's schedule, a story Lola had sent them from college, and a funny TikTok their son Michael had recreated. Mark listened, he always listened, but there was a distance in his eyes, like someone standing behind a curtain. When she finally asked him what was going on, he didn't answer right away. Instead, he unfolded a small piece of paper from his pocket, smoothing it with trembling hands. That alone startled her. Mark's hands never trembled, not even during moments of crisis, not even when he was furious, or heartbroken, or scared. "Kel," he said softly, "I didn't want to worry you." Those 6 words had a way of slicing through her. They were always the warning sign. The beginning of the conversation no spouse ever wants to hear. He told her everything slowly, piece by piece, as if afraid the truth might break her. Tests he had undergone in silence. Symptoms he had brushed off for months. Appointments he had deliberately scheduled when she was traveling or filming. She felt the world tilting as he explained the condition. Something manageable but serious. Something that required ongoing treatment. Something he should never have faced alone. "You should have told me," Kelly whispered, tears blurring her vision. "I didn't want it to change anything," he replied. "I wanted you to keep smiling. I wanted to protect you." But that wasn't protection. That was isolation. That was fear disguised as love. She held him tightly that night, her cheek pressed against his shoulder as if anchoring him to the world. They made promises, honest ones. No more secrets. No more carrying burdens alone. They were a team. They always had been. And yet, as she looked at him across the host desk, the next morning under the glowing studio lights, she knew the world would soon hear what he had been hiding. Not because they owed the public every detail, but because silence, in this case, was only feeding his suffering. Sharing the truth in their shared world meant stepping into strength together. Going live, the opening banter felt stiff. Kelly's hands were clasped tighter than usual. Mark's voice held an unfamiliar rasp. The audience, always quick to sense emotion, quieted in subtle waves. Something was off, and they felt it. A pause swept over the set as the producers signaled they were ahead of schedule. A rare moment of stillness on live morning television. Mark looked at Kelly first, the faintest nod passing between them, silent permission. A question asking, "Are you ready?" A reassurance answering, "Yes." Kelly took a breath, steadying herself. "There's something we want to talk about," she began, her voice soft but unwavering. "Something personal." The audience grew silent. The cameras zoomed in slightly. Mark placed his hand over hers, an anchor, a promise. "For a while now," she continued, "Mark has been dealing with a health issue. One he hasn't talked about publicly. One he didn't even tell me about at first." Mark's eyes lowered, guilt flickering beneath them. She squeezed his hand gently, reminding him she wasn't angry, just hurt, just scared, just human. "He kept it from me because he wanted to protect me," she added. "But secrets like that, they don't protect. They build walls." The studio felt impossibly still, no rustle of movement, no muffled coughs, just the raw gravity of truth settling around them. Then Mark spoke. "I didn't want to worry anyone," he said. "I thought I could handle it alone. I thought it would go away, and I was wrong." Kelly watched him with the kind of tenderness only decades of love could teach. She knew how hard this was for him, admitting vulnerability, stepping into uncertainty. He continued, describing the symptoms, the diagnosis, the treatment plan, not every detail, only what was needed. Enough to be honest without surrendering every piece of himself to the public. Enough to remind people that even the brightest smiles can hide shadows. A moment of stillness. When he finished, Kelly gently turned toward him, looking at him, not as a co-host, not as a celebrity, but as her husband, the father of her children, the anchor of her life. "I'm proud of you," she said softly, her voice trembling, "for facing it, for talking about it, for letting me walk through this with you." He blinked rapidly, swallowing the emotion rising in his throat. "You shouldn't have to walk through it alone," he whispered. The audience erupted into an unexpected wave of applause, not for drama, not for spectacle, but for something real, something human, something courageous. Kelly felt her eyes fill despite her best efforts to remain composed. Tears traced down her cheeks, not of despair, but of release, a quiet grief finally allowed into the light. After the show, when the cameras cut and the audience dispersed, Kelly and Mark remained seated, fingers intertwined. No producers approached. No assistants hovered. It was as if the world understood they needed the moment to themselves. She leaned into him, resting her head against his shoulder, the same place she had rested her head years ago on their wedding night, the same place she turned to during heartbreaks and celebrations, the place she trusted most. "You're not alone now," she whispered. "Not ever again." He kissed her forehead. "I know," he replied. I didn't want to be weak." "You're not weak," she said fiercely. "You're brave. Brave people tell the truth even when it scares them." He breathed in deeply, the tension leaving his body. For the first time in months, he felt lighter. Moving forward, in the days that followed, the world reacted with overwhelming support. Messages poured in from fans, from colleagues, from people who had faced similar struggles. Instead of shame or pity, there was solidarity. Instead of fear, community. Mark began treatment openly, letting the burden rest not only on his shoulders but on the network of love surrounding him. Kelly accompanied him to appointments, held his hand through difficult moments, and filled their home with laughter even on the days he felt worn thin. Their marriage, already strong, deepened. Vulnerability had become a bridge rather than a crack. Kelly often thought back to that night on the couch, the raindrops whispering against the windows. She had been terrified then, wondering if they would lose their footing. But instead, the truth had grounded them, strengthened them, reminded them that love is not the absence of fear but the triumph over it. And Mark, no longer hiding, leaned into the truth with a courage she admired more than anything he had ever done on screen. Together, they walked through the uncertainty, one step, one appointment, one sunrise at a time. And with every new day, Mark grew stronger. And Kelly held him steady. Because that was what love looked like, messy, brave, honest. And in revealing his secret health struggle, Mark had revealed something far greater, his heart. And Kelly, unwavering as ever, met it with her own. The morning after their on-air announcement, Kelly woke before dawn, unable to fall back asleep despite the comforting weight of Mark's arm draped around her. She lay quietly, listening to his soft, even breathing. For the first time in months, he looked peaceful, free of the secret that had been wearing him down slowly, quietly, invisibly. She wasn't sure how long she had been awake when he finally stirred. "You're up," he murmured, voice thick with sleep. "So are you," she whispered, turning toward him. He offered a small smile, the real one, the one she hadn't seen in too long. "Slept better than I have in weeks." She brushed her fingers through his hair. "Because you're not carrying it alone anymore." He nodded, eyes softening. "Yeah, because of you." Facing the world together. Later that morning, when they walked into the studio, something had changed. Crew members who usually rushed past them paused to give small, supportive nods. Makeup artists greeted Mark with gentle smiles instead of playful jokes. Even the security guard at the entrance looked at him with a quiet respect.